Welcome to the Lessons of Leaders in Hospitality podcast, where it is my job to help industry leaders and influencers talk the walk so others can walk the talk. This podcast is for young professionals by young professionals, and thank you for joining me, Jordan Fox, on this week's episode, Everything Matters at the Atlanta Athletic Club. We have a special guest today, the general manager of the club, Mr. Carroll, and thank you for joining me for this conversation.
My pleasure, Jordan. Thank you for asking me.
Awesome. I know, 3 years ago now, I reached out to Mr. Carroll because he was speaking to the Club Managers Association of America at James Madison. And since then, it's been a great mentor figure in my life who I've looked up to and looked back on several conversations that we've had. And with that said, how did you get involved with the Club Managers Association, and what's your role in that ongoing?
Well, when I started working in country clubs back when I was in high school, really, I started washing dishes and learned how to wait tables and learned how to cook and do a few things. Went away to culinary school, and came out of culinary school, went back and worked at a kitchen at a country club, but have always been in clubs. Moved my way up into management as a food and beverage manager and assistant manager, and right away joined the Club Managers Association of America because of the educational opportunities that it afforded people who joined that organization. So that was probably 34 years ago that I joined CMAA, and much like you, when I joined CMAA, I found a number of mentors in the organization, those who were general managers and have been general managers for a long time, and learned from their mistakes, learned from their successes, and continued to attend club management CMAA functions both locally, regionally, and nationally, and eventually worked my way up to become the president of the organization back in, I guess, 2011.
That's right.
That's a brief snapshot.
Right. That's covering a lot of time in a short little snippet. So you went from going to school at Kansas.
Actually, the University of Kansas was my first management job.
Okay.
I went to the Culinary Institute of America and graduated from there. And when I was an assistant manager at a club in Kansas City, Missouri, Leawood Country Club, the University of Kansas was opening a brand new alumni facility with a club within that, which was going to be a food and beverage dining club. And they were looking for someone with some good food and beverage experience. And my name surfaced, and I interviewed with them. So I went to work at the University of Kansas and was there for 9 years. So I say I adopted the University of Kansas, and they adopted me. So I've been a loyal Jayhawk ever since then.
Got you. And when you went to school at the Culinary Institute, is
yes.
that right? Okay. So went from the culinary to working at Kansas.
That's exactly
I always
right.
thought you were an alumni.
No, people believe I'm an alumni, but I'm chairman of the Alumni Association Board of Directors this year, and I'm the first and only person who served on the board of the KU Alumni Association who never attended a class at KU. And but I'm very, very fortunate and very humbled to be on that board and serve as their president.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I didn't start out with asking this, but I meant to. Hospitality.
Yes.
What does the term mean to you?
Well, I've heard a couple of things recently, and a couple of them I really like. Can't remember who said it. Maybe you remember the quote, but someone once said that service is black and white, and hospitality is living color.
Okay.
And if you think about that, it really means a lot. I was watching an episode of Top Chef, and Chef Tom Colicchio had said when he was working for Danny Myers, that people come to a restaurant for the food, but they return for the hospitality. So hospitality really creates the experience. Hospitality begins when someone calls to make a reservation at a restaurant. For instance, if we're talking food and beverage, or make a reservation at the club. Hospitality begins with what the brand is of that particular organization. When somebody calls on the phone, who answers the phone? How is it answered? How is it handled? Is the person speaking on the phone speaking with a genuine smile in their voice? Appreciating the person who's calling on the phone, understanding that the customer is the reason for our work, not an interruption of our work. The hospitality continues from the time the person arrives in the parking lot. Is it a nice, clean parking lot? Is it well landscaped? Is it well lit? Is there a valet? Are they greeted with a warm and genuine, sincere smile? From the time they enter the restaurant or the club, again, how are they greeted? How are they seated? It's everything from no water spots on the water glasses or no lipstick on the water glasses to cold food cold, hot food hot, but being presented, all of those things, with a warm, sincere smile and a genuine friendliness of welcoming that person or those people into the restaurant or the dining experience. And then, again, the Ritz-Carlton says it just right, a warm welcome and a fond farewell. And again, making sure that those people have enjoyed their entire experience from start to finish. And when they leave, it's not just the server who would say goodbye, not just the server who would say good evening, hope you enjoyed your meal, whatever it may be, right, but the manager or whoever's running that restaurant, the hostess, whoever they pass by, all the way out to the valet. And when they drive down the street, when that person leaves that establishment, are they leaving with a smile on their face saying, wow, I've experienced something like I've never experienced before?
Right.
That's the hospitality. It's the total package.
And that brings me to a quote that you shared when I was here at the club. We were walking through and your morning routine, which we'll get to. And I was looking around the room thinking, okay, everything looks good. And you bent over, picked up a piece of lint off the carpet, and then pointed to the light bulb, on the far side of the ceiling and said, the light bulb's out, we need to get that changed. And then you said, the extraordinary is in the ordinary, or something along those lines, right?
Right. The extraordinary starts with the ordinary.
Starts with the ordinary.
It absolutely does. And you mentioned it early on, we here at the Atlanta Athletic Club, our service philosophy is everything matters. So when we talk about that, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we go into great detail in trying to tell our team members about that, and that is everything does matter. The lint on the carpet matters because if I see it, someone else will see it. The light bulb being out matters. I even look, I'm a little bit obsessive to this point, but if I see two lamps on a side table or lamps flanking a sofa, and I look at those from across the room, I can tell if one of those light bulbs is a 60-watt bulb and one is a 75-watt bulb.
Wow.
And I'll go over and take a look to confirm that and then make sure they're changed out so that they match. Because the lighting then is not the same. It sets an uneven impression. It's almost like somebody winking at you. If the lights are different, the whole ambiance is different. So it starts with all the little things. If you see the little things, you're going to see the big things for sure.
Right. And that quite literally goes to adding the color to hospitality. So with Everything Matters, you have a values program. Can you dive into the STAR program a little bit?
We have a program, well, our core values here at Atlanta Athletic Club spell out the word RISE, R-I-S-E. And when I started here at the club about 5 years ago, we came up with about a dozen words that we thought described what Atlanta Athletic Club was all about. And we called those our core values. But the more we talked to our team members about that and wanted to instill those core values in them, we found that it was almost too much to comprehend, or they couldn't remember what they were. Right. After they went through an orientation program, we talked to them about core values and say, well, let's talk about the core values. What are they again? And they'd kind of look like, oh my gosh, I can't remember all of them. And if I can't remember all of them, sometimes they couldn't even remember one of them. So we decided to take all those core values and boil it down into 4 words that were easy to remember, but really incorporated all those other things to them. And we came up with the words that really tied into the acronym of RISE, and that is respect, integrity, sincerity, and enthusiasm. And it's not just the words that are important, and we don't just focus on the words, but it's actually the definition of the words here at the Atlanta Athletic Club. And respect, we talk about all the time, is respect for people, places, and things. So respect for people is a respect for each other. It's very easy to understand, but we like to say here, whether you walk in the front door of the club as a member or you walk through the back door of the club, I think like you did this morning, as a team member or as a team member or as a vendor, you get treated the same. So the respect is for people. So whether you're a member or guest through the front door, or whether you're a team member or even a person delivering the produce or the flowers or the linen or whatever it may be, you also get treated equally well when you walk in the back door. So that's respect for people. Respect for place. As here at Atlanta Athletic Club, we have a long tradition, a long history of hospitality, but also a great affiliation with the game of golf. So we've got great history and tradition. So respect of place is really respect of who we are at Atlanta Athletic Club, respect for our traditions and our heritage. And then respect for things is everything from respecting the facilities that we work with here to respecting the tools that we're giving to do our job. So whether it's on the golf course here at Atlanta Athletic Club, whether it's a machine operator who's handling a $50,000 fairway mower,
right,
or whether it's a server or a steward who's handling glassware, chinaware, or silverware, it's having respect for those things, making sure that they're well taken care of, well maintained, and we look out for the resources that the members have given us to do our jobs effectively. So respect people, places, and things. Secondly, our second core value is integrity. And integrity is really easy to talk about here at Atlanta Athletic Club because we cite the example of Bobby Jones, who's the greatest amateur golfer of all times, and Atlanta Athletic Club is the home club of Bobby Jones. He grew up at our East Lake Country Club facility. His father was president of the club. He was president of the club. And everywhere he traveled around the world, playing the game of golf, being an ambassador for the game of golf, he always cited his home club was Atlanta Athletic Club. Even though he co-founded Augusta National,
right,
all of that, his home club was Atlanta Athletic Club. Well, we tell the story about Bobby Jones being a great man of integrity. And integrity, as we define it here, and it's pretty easy to come up with, is doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. It has to do with picking the lint up off the carpet even when nobody's watching. It's picking up trash in the parking lot even though nobody's watching. It's doing your job even without a manager always looking over your shoulder. But we cite the story of Bobby Jones in the 1925 U.S. Open. He saw his ball move, and at that time there was a penalty, and he called the penalty on himself because his ball moved. And his playing opponent and the referee or the official for the match said, well, we didn't see the ball move. You don't need to take a penalty. And Bobby Jones said, yes, I do need to take a penalty because I saw the ball move. And in the game of golf, it's about calling penalties on yourself. It's a rule. And he felt that the rule was violated, even though it wasn't by his intention. So he took the one-stroke penalty. Well, he ended up in a playoff for the U.S. Open, our national championship, and he lost the playoff. But had he not claimed that penalty stroke, he would have won the U.S. Open in 1925. Wow. Well, he was heralded throughout the country. I mean, there was newspaper headlines about Bobby Jones calling this penalty on himself, which cost him the U.S. Open. And being interviewed for it, he said, I really don't understand what all the excitement's about. He said, praising me for calling that penalty on myself would be like praising a man for not robbing a bank.
Right.
You just don't do it.
Right.
So
wow,
that's what integrity is all about, doing the right thing, even when nobody's watching, and dealing with the consequences. So that's integrity. Sincerity is really a core value that speaks to us here at Atlanta Athletic Club because it's all about Southern hospitality. We say sincerity here at Atlanta Athletic Club is speaking and acting from your heart. It's getting to know people. It's that genuine smile. It's finding out about people. It's about knowing who they are. It's about knowing their preferences. It's knowing their children's names or their grandchildren's names or whatever it may be. And again, it's not just our members that we want to get to know and being sincere about, but it's our coworkers, it's our fellow team members, and asking them about, hey, I understand your son or daughter's graduated from high school this year. Great. Where are they going to school, or what are they doing in their future? Whatever it may be. It's just really getting to know and having a great understanding of who your coworkers are and who your members are. That's the hospitality, and that's that sincerity that's speaking and acting from your heart, calling people by name. As Dale Carnegie said, and I think you're a student of Dale Carnegie, right?
I try to be, yes.
All right.
Yes.
So what does he say about calling somebody by name?
Oh, man.
Your name is the sweetest sound in any language.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's calling somebody by name. So that's a very important part of what we do, is that sincerity. And our final core value, the E for enthusiasm. And as I tell our team members here at the club, I believe that core value is like the ribbon that wraps up the package of our core values, because you can't practice the respect and the integrity and the sincerity without a great deal of enthusiasm and passion for what you do. And we certainly want people to be passionate about what they do here at the club. And again, whether they're a steward or they're raking sand in the bunkers, or whether they're maitre d' or sommelier or whoever it may be, we believe you should have a great passion for your job, love what you do, love coming to work, and we want to make this a great working environment so people can be enthusiastic about what they do. I had a gentleman I worked with at the Loxahatchee Club named Hugh Stacy, and he was our caddy master, and he was the most enthusiastic person I knew. He'd get up at 3 o'clock every morning, get to work, make sure the golf bags are arranged, make sure the caddies were all taken care of, and he's always had a smile on his face. And I said to him that one day, I said, Hugh, what is it, what drives your enthusiasm? And he said, well, that's easy. He said, I treat every day like it's my first day on the job. And if you think about that, you say, what do you do when your first day at work, you're all nervous and all that, but you want to show your new boss, you want to show your new employer that if nothing else, you might not have all the skills you need to do your job on the first day. You might not be trained on the first day, but the one thing you can show is that you're enthusiastic about what's going on. So enthusiasm and passion. So those are our core values.
And that goes back to when I walked in the door, I saw Charles, who works in banquets, and you said something that stuck out was people, what was it you said?
Whether you walk in the front door or the back door of the club, you should be treated the same.
And about Charles is people remember
and
him.
Charles, Charles is such a great ambassador for the club because Charles meets so many people, hundreds and hundreds of people here on a regular basis, that everybody remembers Charles because of his personality. He might not remember everybody he meets, but they certainly remember Charles. And I talk about him in our new team member orientation sometimes, and I refer to Charles as the guy with one name, like Jay-Z or Rihanna or whoever. You just say,
no one knows his last name.
When you talk about Charles at Atlanta Athletic Club, everybody knows, oh, Charles, and their eyes light up because he was such a great ambassador. That's
awesome, and that goes back to how long has the longest person who's been working here been here?
Right now, I believe the longest it's been, Jackie McKenzie, our mechanic out in golf course maintenance, has been here 45 or 46 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So what do you think feeds into, one, her longevity and other people at the club? Why? I mean, everyone seems to enjoy it. And
it's a great place. It's a warm environment, and the members here treat the team members very, very well. It's I think if it was easy to come up with some core values of the place because the club had been living those core values. They might just not have been identified.
Right.
So the long-term employees certainly have exhibited those core values, but it's up to us, newer team members who come in. I've been here just under 5 years, and others who come in. It's up to us to perpetuate that. So we looked at our star performers and said, and our people with longevity, and said, what is it that they have that we want everybody else to have? And really, that's kind of it. It's that respect, integrity, sincerity, and enthusiasm. That's what we need to drive towards those new team members that are joining us.
And as management, you were looking to your leading employee and staff to help you, decide that.
Yes.
How did that conversation? You sat everyone in a room and picked on people who raised their hands, or how did that conversation go?
As far as the core values go, as we narrowed those down, it really came to our leadership team that we have here.
Okay.
And we did have a facilitator, and we talked about it. We talked about the dozen or so words that we were using about the core value. We talked about the Atlanta Athletic Club experience and really what was that. And we spent probably an hour and a half talking about a lot of different things. And when you're talking in sentences and paragraphs and all of that. So once we started making notes of all those things, we went back and said, well, what's the one word that describes everything we've said in this paragraph?
Gotcha.
And what is that? And that's respect. But you've got to have the definition with that. Again, the words don't mean anything unless you put the definition behind them, that respect, integrity, sincerity, enthusiasm. So we all came up with, it was a great conversation. There was probably a word or two that some of us thought we would like to include in there, but all in all, it worked out very well.
RISE makes sense.
Yes.
Switching gears a little bit to the new restaurant at the club, you changed your fine dining upscale restaurant and changed gears a little bit with the whole ambiance and atmosphere. We
changed the atmosphere. Our dining room was called the Marion Room, and it had been called the Marion Room for years and years and years, and it was a heavily draped, heavily carpeted tablecloth restaurant, kind of what you'd consider a white tablecloth restaurant. And over the years, the popularity had kind of diminished a little bit, and some of that had to do with the perceived or actual length of dining time where somebody's in the dining room, and some of it is just feeling like people need to get dressed up in a coat and tie. And we hired a company called Johnson Studios here in Atlanta, who do work nationwide or worldwide on. And they work with everyone from major hotel chains to cruise ships to major restaurants like Ritz-Carlton's and others on developing concepts and design work. And we decided we wanted to have a real destination restaurant in the club. We didn't want to just be a country club with a couple of different dining rooms. We wanted to be a country club with a freestanding restaurant. And we wanted to give it a different identity. So instead of calling it the Marion Room or the Marion Dining Room, we're trying to just call it Marion.
Okay.
And Marion is named after Marion Golf Club, where Bobby Jones completed his Grand Slam in 1930.
Okay.
Club just outside Philadelphia, and hosted many, many major events over the years. But he won the U.S. Amateur at Marion in 1930, and he completed his Grand Slam of winning the British Open, the British Amateur, the U.S. Open, and the U.S. Amateur, all in the same calendar year, which has never been done before or since then. So we changed out the restaurant. We made it more of an upscale casual restaurant to go with the dining, I guess, popularity of dining today and where people are going. People are in just a little bit more of a hurry. For one reason or another, they don't want to sit and spend a lot of time at dinner, at least not on a regular basis. So we made it to more of a, we didn't want to categorize it and call it just a chop house. We didn't want to call it a farm to table restaurant. But we wanted to include all those elements. So everything we do there is fresh. Of course, the beef is fresh and very high quality. All the fish is fresh that we serve. And we do change the menu seasonally so we can take advantage of fruits, vegetables, and grains and everything that are seasonal based. And it's been proven to be very, very popular.
That's very cool. So with the Marion Room, a lot of different things changing. I know a few years back you put in a whole new pool and kids section, right, at the Aqua Center? Or is it
the Aquatic Center. About 5 years ago that we opened that. Renovated pool with a real child-friendly area, a splash pad for the kids, water slides, and zero entry into that kids area, so parents could take their chairs and put them right in the water and sit there and watch their children in that 2 foot of water, whatever it may be.
Right.
And so that's been very popular. And then we built a pavilion with a complete bar and dining area next to the pool that has proven to be very popular as well.
So how have you seen your membership changing? And then the same question will apply for young workers coming in and working at the club, entry level.
Well, over the last 5 years, we have made a bit of a shift more towards a younger membership. We really have a much more of an emphasis on younger people, but as we say here, we're a family-friendly club, and family-friendly to us means we're all members of a family. So whether you're a newborn or whether you're someone approaching their 100th birthday or beyond, you're still a member of a family. So we want to make sure that we're providing something for people of all ages. So everywhere from an infant, where we provide child minding facilities in our timbers area, to the pool, tennis, fitness, swimming, all those kinds of things. We provide something for everyone. But we did hire just about 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, a youth activities director who helps coordinate activities for young people, 12 months a year rather than just during the summer like a lot of clubs do. So we've got book clubs, we've got etiquette classes, we have events on 2 Friday nights a month called Kids Night Out. It's not Parents Night Out, it's Kids Night Out. So we focus on the kids.
Right.
And so they tell their parents, I want to go to the club. And then we have activities for the kids on that Friday night, and the parents can come over and enjoy dinner and drinks and that kind of thing, and enjoy their time together. So we've done a lot more with young people as part of that family focus, and we've brought the average age of the membership down just a little bit. So the average age of new members joining the club over the last 4 or 5 years is just under 40 years old.
Okay.
So we have trended to be a little bit younger. Likewise, on the service side of things, we have a lot of young people who start with us, work in high school and work their way through college just a little bit. Whether if they go away to school, sometimes they come back and work in the summer and work at the Christmas holidays and that kind of thing. Okay. So it's been very popular.
And final question, what would you say are 1 to 3 things that young people entering the club and the staff, quality traits that they could be working on?
Our core values are a good start. And the one thing I hope we do here at the club in instilling core values into our team members while they're working here is my personal goal is that those core values do blend over into their personal lives.
Right.
That we believe that we're setting a good foundation for somebody's future if they can go through life respecting people, places, and things, if they can be a person of integrity, if they can sincerely engage with other people and be enthusiastic about whatever it is they choose to do in life. Because we know that we hire a lot of people in high school and a lot of people in college, and we know they're not going to be career servers or career lawn care people or career cooks. If they want to do that, we'll give them all the tools they need to succeed here at the club. But they're going to go on and do other things, whether they're accountants or doctors or lawyers or whatever it may be. But we believe that we can instill some values into their lives while they work that they can take with them to be successful in whatever they do.
Awesome. And that's a huge piece in learning from Mr. Carroll and other people. A lot of people say, do this, do that, carry yourself with respect and integrity, and then actually sort of honing in on the people who do that and following and figuring out how that actually looks in action is a super valuable piece, at least that I've found in being around this club and other people at James Madison and back home with other leaders. So thank you for your time today, and it was a great episode.
Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to Johns Creek, Georgia.
Of course.
We appreciate
it.
All
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.